As judge, you have a hard job. We admit it. You need to actively listen to complicated topics from speakers of different skill sets. And you need to do two things. Decide which team won the debate, and assign each of those speakers a score.
In this video, we'll be discussing how to pick the winner. In subsequent videos, we'll show how you assign speaker scores.
But before we get into that, let's first start with the basics. First, fairness. The judge's job is to make sure that the debate throughout the entire part stays fair, with each team being on the same playing field.
That's right. That means debaters can't have anything. This includes flyers, notebooks, and especially electronic devices. Instead, they can only have these specific colored sheets of paper. At the beginning of every round, coaches and other OCDL personnel will hand out colored sheets of paper, like this. Those are the specified color for each round is the only paper a debater may have in a round. For example, if the paper color for a round is green, they may only have green paper in that round.
And they're allowed to use blank, specially formatted pieces of paper like these. These flowcharts are used to flow the debate. We'll explain what that means later.
So that's it. All you need to use is specific sheets of colored paper and flow sheets.
Please review the debaters' workspaces and remind the teams about putting away items before the round. Debaters may get disqualified if an OCDL official comes into the room and sees anything except authorized colored sheets of paper and flow sheets on the desk.
So back to the basics. No one is allowed to record any of the OCDL debaters except for certified OCDL photographers. Please remind all debaters and audience members of this rule. Third, please ask someone to be your timer. Your job is hard enough without you having to constantly look at a stopwatch.
The timer is someone who tells the students how much time they have left or when POIs are allowed. Students are allowed to time themselves only if they have a kitchen timer. They are not allowed to use their phones. Okay, with those basics out of the way, let's get into the heart of being a judge, deciding the winner and speaker scores.
To get yourself into the right mindset of judging, please remember the following. You know nothing. Of course not literally. We mean you cannot import your own knowledge or any outside information into the debate.
This is kind of a hard one, but as a judge, you need to let the debaters do the debating. So yes, even if the speaker says something like, "The sky is neon green," when it's really blue, you cannot mark them down for it. It is the job of the other team to point that out that it's wrong. If they fail to do so, well then for the purposes of the debate, the sky is neon green. Now that you're a blank slate, it's time to explain how to actually evaluate a debate. As judge, you'll receive a formatted piece of paper called a flowchart, like this one. You'll use it to track the assertions, reasons, evidence, and impacts stated by the teams during the debate. After writing the names of the debaters down in the right speaker positions, the first speaker spends her time laying out the proposition's case in support of the resolution boxing should be banned. As a judge, you note the first speaker didn't lay out any specific definition of boxing or banned or any plan. You then write down the key assertions: boxing has a violent goal, boxing causes injury and bad health, and boxing creates false hope for the poor, and any reasoning, evidence, or impact associated with each assertion which you, as a judge, find particularly important or persuasive. You should also note down the time used by each speaker. We're just doing it once here. When the second speaker begins, you note that the opposition is imposing a burden on the proposition to prove that boxing is more dangerous than football. You also note that the opposition has refuted the first speaker's first assertion. You draw an arrow to reflect this. The opposition then refutes the first speaker's second assertion. You draw another arrow to reflect this. Rather than refuting the third assertion, the opposition first speaker starts on his assertions why boxing should not be banned, namely because boxing teaches great discipline and work ethic, and boxing is a way for poor kids to break out of poverty. The first opposition speaker may provide some reasoning, evidence, and impact for the first assertion, but may run out of time after stating the second assertion. You may note down the failure to address the third assertion or to provide support for the second assertion. As you can see, the arrows relating arguments and refutations provides a certain flow to the debate, hence the term flow chart. We repeat this process throughout all the speakers, and after doing so, we can identify those arguments which each side sustained throughout the debate, which arguments went unrefuted or unchallenged, and which arguments were best supported with evidence, reasoning, and impacts. So, for example, we can see that the first speaker's third assertion was never refuted by the opposition and was carried through by the proposition's second and third speakers. We can also see that, in contrast, the second and third opposition speakers failed to fully carry through the first speaker's second assertion, which was poorly supported to begin with. In the end, you may find that the proposition's third assertion has sufficient evidence and impact and was not clearly challenged by the opposition to convince you and, as a result, carry the debate. In general, to decide who won, consider which team had the most convincing assertions. That is, who did a better job supporting their assertions with evidence and reasoning and fending off refutations. Had the most impactful assertions. Whose position had the most significance for society as a whole. Had the best refutations. Who did a better job countering or minimizing the assertions of the other team.
Making a decision is never easy, but all that we ask is that you make sure to not import any of your own knowledge into the round, consider all of the points made, and clearly weigh all of the assertions, reasonings, evidence, impacts, and refutations made in the round.
So, you've decided who won. Now it's time to assign speaker scores. That'll be our next video.